But first, let me introduce someone much smarter and much more interesting than me, who's going to do some speaking. So Ayesha Barenblat is the founder of Remake, which is a startup focused on the power of films, visual storytelling, and immersive journeys to create a conscious consumer movement. Now, what all those words mean is that she cares about how we improve the lives of the men and women, the humans who make our clothing. So she's got a really interesting presentation. So Ayesha, come on out, and I'm gonna get out of here. I'll see you guys in a little bit.
Good afternoon. I am so excited to be here. I know it's been a long day, but hopefully I can really amp you up. I wanted to start with really just 3 short stories. The first is the story of our clothes. Did you know that in the last 10 years, we have been buying 4 times more clothes and yet somehow paying less for them? Doesn't that just blow your mind? How is that possible, that we get things sooner, cheaper, faster? Well, there's a very real cost to this. Today, the fashion industry is the 2nd largest polluter after oil. Who would think that, right? Most of our clothes end up sitting in landfills for 200 years. But the biggest cost in all of this is really human. This is just a 6-month snapshot in 2012 of the lives lost of the human beings who make our clothes, some of the biggest industrial disasters and fires of our time. How do you feel after I've told you this story? Overwhelmed? Helpless? Wondering how this sort of relates to your daily life? I tell you, this is around the time that my friends tell me, you are really bumming us out, and start to check their Instagram feed. And I get it. I've been telling the story all wrong. So let me tell you a completely different story. It's a story about the young women who make and create the things that we put on our body every day. There are 40 million people that make our clothes. They happen to be women. Most of them are also just 18 to 24 years old. Millennials, just like many of you in this room and on the live stream. So at Remake, what we decided to do was go meet them, sit down with them, have meals, get to know them. From Haiti to Cambodia to Pakistan, we sat down. And the one thread that connects all of these women is this: they are seriously badass. And I've been thinking, in the last day and a half, of the perils of many of the issues and trials and triumphs that we've talking about the millennials right here in our country and their life. You left for college hoping that you'd get a kick-ass job afterwards. Instead, you were dealing with difficult issues of racism, of sexual violence on campus, and perhaps coming out encumbered with debt. She left the village, the safety and security of her home and her family, to do the same. Except she entered the big bad world of factories, often her salary supporting multiple family members. The thing is, her wage started to feel as though it was shrinking because everything around her was costing more, and this dream, much like the American dream, of being able to afford a lift out of poverty was suddenly going away. She also deals with harassment. Most supervisors and bosses in factories are men. Most of the people who do the work, which is common, I think, throughout the world, happen to be women. The other interesting thing about her life is this: she is increasingly digitally connected. She is on WhatsApp. In countries where it isn't banned, she's on Facebook. And she's really curious about you, the end consumer. So what we do is, we're wondering, this crazy experiment that we're trying to run is, if we start to tell you these stories in a more textured way, if we meet you where you are on social networks, through short videos, we've even run bus ads in San Francisco, and tell you the story of her life. If you see her, meet her, get to know her in this textured way, will you care enough about her well-being to want to advocate for her? And so I want to close with a 3rd and final story. It's a story of millennials. Now, it's very irritating. I think every generation tries to do this, where it's this homogeneous group that we apply all these different traits to, and I'm not going to do that. There's just 2 things that are very striking. I thought it would be cool to show you this image given the venue that we're at. This is a recent National Geographic's cover. And the story is about the future face of America, racially ambiguous. The truth is, the demographic trends, what they show us is that increasingly we are more and more racially diverse. We don't know what box to check on the census. You don't know where I've really come from. And so who better than the people in this room and on this live stream to say, Anju and Maud and Rubina and all the women who make our clothes, we don't see you as some poor, dark people far away. Your hopes, your dreams are the same as ours. The other thing that all of us as a generation understand is that we've been digitally connected since we were in diapers. And we know how to use digital connection, the tools of our time, to really mainstream the issues that we're grappling with into public consciousness. I'm particularly thinking about love is love, like who can argue with that love wins, or Black Lives Matter. So here's a proposal to you. What if economic activism was the next frontier? What if the things we put on our body reflected our value system? You all care about social justice. Well, guess what? You vote on social justice every single day when you buy something. So practically, so that we don't get overwhelmed, what is it that we should do? The first is to ask more about her. Who made my clothes? Who is she? What is her life like? I want to know her. Whether in-store or online, if you ask that question, I promise you, I've spent a decade working on the inside with brands. They track this information. And today, they don't think you care. But when you ask, they'll have to make working conditions more transparent. The second is to bring back durable fashion. These jeans, I'm going to rock them. These are Levi's jeans. I'm going to wear them not one season, not two seasons, but for many years. There used to be this slow fashion movement of craftsmanship, of a love for what we had, to cherish it, to repair it. And what we can do is say no to fast fashion. The third and final thing that I wanted to present to you is every movement needs a face. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my dream candidate for who should be the future face of Remake. Now, I am a super Beyoncé fan. I've been to her Formation concerts. I've loved her since Destiny's Child. I could sing any song, but you wouldn't want me to do that. But here's the interesting thing about Beyoncé. She's the most iconic star of our time. She is someone who's really evolved and found her voice as a feminist and an activist. One of the things that you all may not know is that she's recently dabbled as a designer with her Ivy Park line, which she's made for fast fashion retailer Topshop. And if you've seen any of the ads for Ivy Park, it's about welcoming us into her strength and power, because it's a workout line. It's like, if I'm going to wear Ivy Park, I'm going to be as powerful as you. The thing is, Ivy Park is made in Sri Lanka. And today, the women who make Ivy Park, these are not really desirable jobs. So can you imagine the power if we got information behind the maker and we welcomed her into that strength, and Ivy Park stood for making her life better? So I have a little video for you, but what I want you to do before we play it is to open Twitter, because I want you to do something for me. So. So are you going to do it? Go on then. There's 20,000 people on the live stream. They tell me there's at least 100 people here. Write her. It's an invitation to say, who made it? I want to know her. And maybe then I will buy Ivy Park and share in your strength. Thank you very much.
It was awesome.